Okay, welcome to the Eagles Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Marisa Pilla with Fran Duffy and Ike Reese, and I need to collect myself, so I'm going to hand things off to Ike because this was, in fact, a victory.
Don't die on us on this one.
I won't. I got you. Victory! Woo!
Man,
I had to let the blood pressure come down a bit just to get through that.
We need to just hit the pause button.
Is
Let's
everyone
come
okay
back to
at
us in a
home?
few minutes so we can collect our thoughts. Wild ending to this game.
It couldn't have gotten, just when you thought things were getting under control and the Eagles looked like they had some big plays towards the end, all of a sudden they gave up over 50 yards and penalties on the Cowboys' final drive, and then the Cowboys are getting penalties on themselves, pushing them back further. I just couldn't even grasp it. I couldn't even watch it at home. What are you kind of contemplating now that the final whistle has blown?
Well, it's a great victory. It really was. And it's a hard-fought game between two really good football teams that know each other very well. Dallas obviously came in here ready to play today in a little bit of a situation where they didn't want to go down 5-3 to 8-1 in this division. That's exactly what happened. But give our guys a lot of credit. They were resilient, as they usually are. I thought Jalen played a gutsy game today. We'll talk about his performance out there today. And then the defense, they didn't look great at times today. They stepped up and made big plays when they needed to. You know, those last couple of drives. And for Josh Sweat to get that big sack on Dak right there, I thought that was sort of the game sealer for us. We had a couple more plays we had to make sure we took care of business on, but that was a huge sack from Josh Sweat.
Yeah, Josh Sweat on the final drive, and then you had Jalen Carter and Brandon Graham the drive before to help keep Dallas at bay. Just an outstanding job from the defensive line, but I agree, Ike. I mean, I think you look at Jalen Hurts, his performance in this game, that's something we're going to talk about, I think, for the rest of the night. Yeah,
he really just strapped on his helmet in the second half and had laser focus, especially in the third quarter. But we were saying no turnovers, but there were close to a couple turnovers here for the Eagles. What part of this game did you need to be a little more shored up for them?
Well, you obviously want them to run the football a little better, right? I love the fact that we showed a commitment to the run game, and you had to keep that Dallas Cowboys defense honest. But you want to play a little bit better in that aspect of the game. Other than that, I mean, you don't want the ball on the ground, obviously. We were fortunate on all three times the ball was on the ground that it bounced sort of in our favor, and we were able to get on it. But, yeah, other than that, I think when you get a game like this against an opponent like the Dallas Cowboys, you know, sometimes it's not going to be clean, and sometimes it's not going to be pretty. But at the end of the day, the Eagles sit at 8-1.
Yeah, I mean, you need those bounces to go your way sometimes. And I think especially in a game like this where you have sloppy play on both sides, you had some outstanding play on both sides where there's going to be that give and take. You want the ball to bounce in your direction. And certainly Tyler Steen being able to jump on that ball in the second to final drive or the final drive offensively for the Eagles, just a huge grace there for that offense. But 3 balls on the ground, the Eagles were able to come up with all 3, so no turnovers in this game. I know that we talked about that on Eagles game plan this week, is that this was not a game where you wanted to put that theory to rest about losing the turnover battle and still coming away with the victory. That's something the Eagles have done for the most part throughout this season. That was thankfully not put to the test here in this one, but look, the Eagles made the plays that needed to be made when it counted to win this football game.
It was very mercurial, this game, for both sides. There were moments where the Eagles looked like they were going to run away with it, and then they looked a little spotty too, but they were also helped out with a lot of close calls from the Cowboys. There was that pass to Schoonmaker where his knee was down almost, not even half a yard before the end zone, and then Dak Prescott stepped out of bounds right for that 2-point conversion. So all these little close calls mentally, what does that do for a player when you're just getting by with these close calls that could have swung the game in a completely different favor?
Well, it certainly gives you something to work on, right? And the Eagles know that they aren't a finished product. And even though we're at week 9, it still feels good to say that we still haven't played our best football game that they're capable of playing. And I tell you, players understand how difficult it is to win in this league. And again, they're not going to always be pretty, but I guarantee you they're going to sleep a lot easier tonight knowing that they go into their bye week 8-1, best record in the entire National Football League. Again, things that they still need to work on, but it still feels good to get the W.
Yeah, it's always good to get a W, and those W's are always sweeter after a Dallas Cowboy victory. We are getting tuned in right now with Dave Spadero, who's down at the link. And Dave, just trying to drive here today was absolutely insane. So I'm sure the atmosphere down there at the stadium is just bonkers right now. When talking about this game specifically, what stood out to you the most?
Well, Marisa, let me just start by saying that everybody's heart is still pounding out of their chest. I spoke with Lane Johnson and Hassan Reddick coming off the field for the in-stadium boards, and they were both like exhausted, drained. And it was that kind of game. It was a cliffhanger. What really stood out to me, I mean, look, a couple things. The Eagles are a resilient football team that knows how to win games. The other things that stick out to me, it literally is. We say it all the time, right? Cliches. It is a game of inches. You referenced the Reed Blankenship stop at the 2-inch line. You referenced Dak Prescott being forced out of bounds on the 2-point conversion by Brandon Graham. Game of inches, and it really was the case today. And then I think for the Eagles, having the defense, a lot of new faces on the field in that last drive, and watching that last play and kind of everybody organizing how to go 3-man pass rush and then play prevent behind it without any slip-ups. They complete the pass. Was the pass completed? I don't even know. I think it was. It was bedlam down here. Pass completed, stopped short of the goal line. That was a concerted effort and a coordinated effort, and while the defense gave up a lot today, at the end of the day, 23 points to a team that was averaging 28.1 points per game, second best in the NFL. That is impressive. Too many penalties for the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that had ranked second in the league in fewest penalties per game. So that's stuff that needs to get cleaned up, but hey, that's what the bye week will be for.
Exactly. This is a great week to kind of collect themselves as they head into a bye. It's a tough stretch ahead of them for the Philadelphia Eagles. But going back to tonight's game, now the Eagles are 8-1, best record in the league. What do you think the team is going to be taking away from this game?
Yeah, 8-1. Hopefully no major injuries. We don't know. Everybody's exhausted. And a very timely bye week. And again, going toe-to-toe with a team that the Eagles now have a hefty lead on in the NFC East. We're not doing any projecting for the playoffs right now, but your immediate goal in a season is to win your division. And the Eagles are now 2 up plus an extra game in the standings in the NFC East. So the Eagles' big win today against a division opponent and a really tough win as expected. I think the game was every bit what we thought it would be. And again, the Eagles show that they are willing to be physical and go toe-to-toe with the very best teams in the NFL.
And they got off to really good starts, too. Their opening possession in the first half, they scored a touchdown. They came back in the third quarter, scored back-to-back touchdowns in the third quarter, too. How big was that for their momentum?
It's been that way all season. The only game I believe the Eagles didn't score on their opening possession was against Washington. And it's just and I'm not sure about that one, but it's been 8 of 9 games where they've scored on their first possession. You play with a lead, and you came out in the second half, and you regain momentum after a tough ending to the first half. Remember how the first half ended. Jalen Hurts limping off the field. The Eagles with that last possession not able to score, trailing at the half. So to come out and drive down the field and score a touchdown and then build on that touchdown, really huge for the Eagles. It put Dallas in catch-up mode. And I know it was too close for comfort for a lot of people. And I know everybody's heart rate is just now calming down. But taking that lead and starting each half off is extremely critical to the Eagles, and they've been great at it this year.
Can you even describe the noise level when the game finally ended and they were able to keep the Cowboys out of the end zone?
I mean, look, obviously nobody left the building. Everybody was on their feet. It was so crazy loud. And in fact, the players gave shout-outs to the fans for that because it did make a difference. And the defense was able to push the Cowboys back. Remember, the Cowboys were down at, the 6-yard line, and they went back down, a couple of sacks, a penalty, etc. So it was very, very important. The fans, again, showing that Lincoln Financial Field, the best home field advantage in the NFL. A huge performance by the Eagles, and a huge performance, once again, by the Eagles fans who are everywhere, and we thank you so very much for all of your love and support.
Yeah, we love our Eagles fans, and they make that place an absolute fortress. Dave, thanks so much for your time.
All right, thank you, Marisa.
As Dave said, this was really a take care of business moment for the Eagles heading into this game because as they head on their bye week, the Cowboys take on the Giants next week. And if the Cowboys had won this game, they were in a position to take over the division next week while the Eagles were sitting back and collecting themselves. What element of their game plan was executed to the point where they were able to get this win?
You know what? It was a little bit of everything. I think Jalen making big plays in the passing game, the big play to Devontae Smith for the touchdown, coming out of the locker room, regaining that lead. I thought that was huge. When you look at the stats, Dallas played a very good game today. Their offense was able to get up and down the field on us. They exposed some things that we need to take care of from our secondary standpoint. And you look at our offensive numbers, not necessarily a great day offensively, but they had the key drives to go down and pick up points when they needed to. And I think that's the most important thing. And we were fortunate. We talked about it. We had some things sort of fall our way, and that's okay. You're going to get that from time to time in the NFL.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this was a matchup. We talked about the matchup between the Eagles offense and this Cowboys defense. Now, it was going to be tough sledding. It's good on good. That's one of the best defenses in the NFL. And you look over the other side, Dak Prescott, that offense, they have been one of the most explosive in the league. They're in the top 5 in most explosive plays, passing the football, and also one of the most efficient, one of the best third down offenses in the league. So I think when you look at that offense, they're going to present a lot of challenges throwing the football and running it. So the Eagles defense was going to have their hands full. It was about who could make the plays when they needed to be made. Could you capitalize on opportunities that were in your lap? And the Eagles were able to make more plays than the Dallas Cowboys were able to make. I mean, Marisa, you and Dave talked about some of those critical moments. And, Brandon Graham, unbelievable play, just getting just enough to get Dak Prescott out of bounds. Obviously the sacks late in the game. James Bradbury making plays. Darius Slay showing up. Again, on third down, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys finished 6 of 15 on third down. That was one of the better third down offenses in football. The Eagles were able to keep them at bay for, again, enough drives in this game, right? It was enough to be able to come away with a victory.
And the Eagles defense made Dak go through his progressions.
Yes.
It wasn't always a quick look downfield to CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, sure, he made a lot of great catches in this one for sure, but they made him take an extra minute. Prescott also scrambled pretty successfully today, too. He extended a lot of drives with his legs just picking up a few yards. But I want to talk about our man, Jalen Hurts, because there's having ice in your veins, and then there's whatever is going on with Jalen Hurts, because this man is frozen inside. I'm convinced about it. He left the first half hobbling on that knee. I think everybody was kind of holding their breath, not sure what would happen in that second half. He comes out in the third quarter, 2 back-to-back touchdowns. It's just, this man is all business when it comes down to it. When you look at him as a leader and this tone he sets by coming back in and playing the way he does, what does that add?
Well, I mean, it's the competitive nature that's in him, right? He wants to be out there for his teammates, and whatever's aching him or bothering him at that moment, he has the ability to block it out, right? And that's what you have to do as an athlete when you're out there playing this game. There's going to be times where you get banged and bruised throughout the course of the game, and you have to have that mental toughness where you don't feel that pain. And that's what I kind of think Jalen did. The injury kind of happened at a point in the game where it was beneficial because he got a chance to go into the locker room and allow that thing to sort of, die down a little bit, and he can get it checked out. Trainers look at him, he comes back out, he's ready to go. So he was ready to go that first drive of the second half. I just think he has a mental toughness aspect to his game that a lot of players just don't have. He always talks about being a triple threat, right? Running the ball, throwing the ball, and then being able to beat you with his mind. That's a clear example of it right there. There's a chance the game isn't going well at moments for him, but he's able to block all of that out and still go out there and play.
That's the thing, is he's like the quadruple threat, because not only is it his legs, his arm, and his mind, but it's also what's right here, man. You know that he's got that element. And I think at the end of the day, with Jalen Hurts, you talk about that touchdown throw to Devontae Smith coming out of the locker room early third quarter. That was a big-time throw over the shoulder down the left sideline. But you go a little bit earlier in the drive, first third down, it's 3rd and 3. They call it RPO. He's rolling out of the pocket, and he takes off. He scrambles with the issues he has with that knee and gets the first down. That the guys in the huddle with him, the guys on the sideline, offense, defense, special teams, they all feel that. They know what he's going through, and for him to put his body on the line to get the team over the threshold and push them to victory tonight. I mean, there's not a lot left to be said. Just outstanding performance from Jalen Hurts tonight.
Even go back to the first drive when they were at the 4th and 1 and they had that brotherly shove, but there was a tweak on it, and they were trying to do the hard count and try to get Dallas off on the hard count. But then he was able just to just execute that so well. And I think that shows not just his execution, but the trust that this offense has in Jalen Hurts to execute these types of plans and put the game in his hands. That this is a first drive. You don't have to go on it on fourth down, but they completely are like, yeah, do it. It was so kind of smug in the best way to be like, and you said that's so demoralizing for an opposing defense to be able to execute a plan like that on your first drive. And I think from start to finish, he's the type of player who you just look at and you're like, this man is steering the ship. He's like an iceberg right now. And it's how do you not follow a player like that?
Oh, yeah. And give Coach Sirianni a lot of credit, too, that opening drive. They have an aggressive mindset. They want to make sure they continue to put pressure on the opposing team's defense every snap of the football. So when you're playing this Eagles offense, it truly is 4 downs. You don't get the third down and get a stop and then say, okay, they're going to punt the ball. Depending on that down and distance and where they are on the field, man, they have a play that is unstoppable or 95, 98% success rate that they're going to go to, and the coach doesn't care where he's at on the field. He's going to do that if it's going to extend the drive. And so they have that mentality as an offensive unit that they know even if they don't pick up the first down on third down, we're coming right back at you on fourth down.
Now, Jalen Hurts is somebody you can always count on offense, and somebody you can always count on defense is Brandon Graham, who spoke with the media just moments ago.
You had that sack. You impacted the game, especially late. Where did that drive come from? You went to that big play.
Just one play at a time. You don't know when your play gonna come. That's what I stress to the guys all the time. Just make sure you make them count. I know he's been jumping me all game, so I knew I was going inside. And it was just cool to, that Dak didn't throw that thing right away. And, man, I thought I lost him for a minute. But it was just cool, man, to make the plays that we needed to help get us out that drive, because obviously that wasn't the last drive. But, just even that 2-point conversion, hustling, and, boy, that was big in the game. I was very thankful, but I know that, we got a lot of stuff to clean up. But, man, very thankful to get us off that field during that time.
Did you know Dak had stepped out of bounds?
Nah, you just running, trying to make sure that you do all you can. And I'm so happy he did, because, boy, they could have kicked the field goal, then kicked another field goal. So it would have been we probably wouldn't even be smiling as much with all them penalties that came out in the end. But I'm just happy that, we was able to make the play, and Sweaty too, especially in that drive. But like I said, we got a lot of stuff to clean up. But, man, I'm happy. I know how hard it is to win in this league, and we knew it was going to be a fight.
Go ahead, John.
Number 187 for you, I think, total games. Does it ever get old for you?
You know what? It always feel good, man. I'm going to miss this when it's over. But I'm going to enjoy it, too, while it's here. And just to be able to get on the board, I don't know how many. We just trying to get off the field at the end of the day. We know we had some third and fourth downs that we wish we could have back. But to get out the game with a win, that's all you really care about. And I don't care who make the play, but just make it. And I'm happy to be able to make some plays in that game to help us.
You've been here longer than any player on the team. It looked like you guys, this the way you came off the field, it looked like this really meant, you guys understood the implications of this game and the importance of this game.
Yeah.
What have you picked up on how to perform at your best in a moment like this?
You just got to be able to fight, because it's gonna be scrappy. As you can see, we had a couple personal fouls. We had a couple things that we can clean up. Not get involved with the back and forth. But we know it's gonna be back and forth. But you got to keep your head leveled. And I think, we got each other back in these games. And you got to make sure that you making sure that you are, technically sound. You got to make sure that you have as limited of missed assignments as you can. You got to, stick to the game plan. Don't go away from what we've been doing all week, and just trust each other. Because at the end of the day, they're going to make some plays, and you can't get frustrated. You just got to keep coming. And I think that's all we did. We just kept coming. Regardless of the penalties that came on that last drive, I just seen guys that just was like, you know what, let's just go. It don't matter. They ain't got in yet. Sweaty went out there and made a big sack. Reed made a big play, or who was that? No, Bradbury made a big play on the stop of the fourth down. And, man, I just think that we just stay together, man. That sudden change and the penalties, and, when we got to bow up, I feel like, we all trusting each other to go out and just do our job. And then in these type of games, you just got to do your job and trust each other.
To us, you transitioned pretty seamlessly from being the guy who plays all the time to being more of a rotational guy, has that been more difficult than it looks to us?
You know what? In the beginning, it was a little difficult because I might have not had as many plays as I had last year. The rotation was a little different, but I know I'm on a pitch count. They're trying to make sure I'm here for the the duration of the season, and we got a big stretch coming up. It's gonna be physical. These next 3-4 weeks before we see Dallas again. We got the Chiefs. We got I forgot who else. I know Bills. Then we got Dallas again probably, and then Seattle. Yeah, 49ers, then Dallas, then Seattle. We got to stretch, but we just got to make sure we staying healthy. I seen some guys like Dallas and Kobe, and I'm hoping them guys, because of this bye week, can get back quick so that we can get ready for the Chiefs. But we just going to enjoy this win, man. We got a week off, and we just got to make sure that we come ready and focused. Don't lose what we've been, building.
Dak made those comments earlier about pouring honey on him.
My bad.
You guys use that as extra motivation.
He said what?
Pour some honey on him. And he made that comment. And
I didn't really hear all that, man. Let me tell you, we knew it was gonna be something. We made up our own little stuff on why we gonna go out and be who we gonna be, and it's about us at the end of the day. We knew that it was gonna be something that come out, but I ain't hear that part. But I just knew that he just said he wanted to get a win in Philly, or it feel good when he get a win in Philly, So I'm gonna just let him keep saying that. You know what I'm saying? We just keep coming. That's it.
It looked like when you got Dak on the sack, it looked a little similar to that last play of Super Bowl 52 where Brady kind of swiveled his hips on.
Man, I almost missed him. Yeah.
Did it feel that way to you? Like it looked like?
Yeah, he's good at. I got much respect on what he was doing in the game, and he loved that B gap escape. Like he loved going right in that, like getting us up the field and going right in that little lane. So the biggest thing was for me, I knew that Steele was jumping me, trying to get me up the field. So I just went inside on him, and Dak was right there, and I just did all the scrap. You got to fight, to try to get him down because he's a bigger quarterback, and just thankful, man, that he went down.
Brandon, Jalen take a direct shot on the left knee before halftime, and then he comes right out in the third quarter and throws that touchdown pass to take the lead. What were you guys thinking at that point about your quarterback?
Man, fighter, man. I was so proud of him because I know he's been dealing with a lot. It's been a lot of stuff that he don't really talk about. He just keep coming. And, got much respect for Jalen because even last year, when people didn't know what he was going to do, how he was going to be, and then he went out and did exactly what he put his mind to. And I seen him during the offseason because I was coming off my injury, and so he was in the building, seeing him work. And then even when he got the money and all that stuff, he's still the same guy. And I'm just I know he don't want to look bad at the end of the day, and he gonna put the work in. I trust him. I got much respect for him, and it made me want to go even harder, for him to make sure we get out this game with a win.
Brandon Graham there talking about his QB1, Jalen Hurts, about how inspiring it is to see him take a hit like he did ending the first half, come back, lead his team to a touchdown. But let's stay on the defense because Brandon Graham and the defense were able to just make big plays, as we said, when they matter down the stretch. Ike, can you take us into the mind of a player when it's a game like against Dallas, there's less than a minute left, you have no timeouts, and they are charging down the field, and you've got to quickly get in position, not miss any coverages. Oh, and you don't have all of your key defensive components. What is going through your head as a defensive player?
Well, you're trying not to give up the big play. You want to make them earn every blade of grass. You want to keep everything in front of you. I'll tell you, Coach Sean Desai will tell you that final drive that they played against the Dallas Cowboys is not textbook. That's not what you want. Oh, we said almost 60 yards and penalties on that drive made this thing a lot closer than it should have been coming down the stretch. So as players, you're trying to do everything you can to avoid situations like that. But one thing I'll give the Eagles a lot of credit for is that they never hung their heads. You know, tough play call against Bradbury on the pass interference. You know, Hassan Reddick with a little bump on Dak. Dak embellished it a little bit. They called a penalty on him for that, for roughing the passer. That adds more yards. We jump off sides, and next thing you know, the Cowboys are at like the 10-yard line. And so everybody's a little nervous right there. But the thing I love about this Eagles team is you saw those leaders step up in that moment right there. That's where Josh Sweater had the big play to get Dak down on the ground. not giving up the play in the end zone for a touchdown. So when they got down there, it seemed like the pass rush went up a notch, and Dak had no time.
I want to ask you, because you led that off by saying you want to make sure you're not the one to give up the big play.
Yeah.
How do you kind of toe that line between, all right, I don't want to give up the big play versus I want to actually make the big play, right? Because obviously we saw those guys step up in those big moments.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. When you're in those situations like that, it's rare that you're going to get that opportunity to make the play on the back end. You kind of have to leave that up to the guys up front, getting after the quarterback. If a ball is overthrown or a ball is tipped and it's in the air, then you're trying to make that big play. But the first thing is you're making sure you're taking care of your responsibility on that particular play, and you want to try to be fundamentally sound in your technique, right? Even with that play with Bradbury, he was right there in coverage, just didn't get his head turned around, and they were able to get the pass interference, and that ball was a little bit underthrown.
Yeah, I can see it being a tough tightrope almost to balance, where you're so excited to make sure that you're doing what you can, but you also can't jump the gun a little bit.
Can't play hero ball.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes some guys are great enough to do that and get away with it. I was never in that category. So, you know, and I've been out there in those 2-minute situations as the nickel linebacker. So, and you're out there making sure you make the calls correctly, making sure everyone hears the call correctly, hand signals, all those types of things. Because sometimes DBs won't come back to the huddle. You know, that's a long way to run from outside the numbers and then come back to the huddle. So you have to make sure those guys get the correct defense call there. And then if there's any adjustments based on formation, based on motion or anything of that nature, you have to make sure you're communicating with everyone.
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Because I seem to remember a certain game against Green Bay Packers where somebody got in and got into Brett Favre and forced an interception from Brian Dawkins in the playoffs. I seem to remember that. He's not going to say it. I'll say it for him.
We'll read your resume for you, Ike. Don't worry. And if you have a question at home for Ike, don't worry, because you can always send them in for Ask Ike, presented by Ponley Hockey, because Ike is a wealth of knowledge, and he loves to share that knowledge with us, right?
A wealth of knowledge? Okay,
Wealth of
I'll
knowledge.
take that. I'll take that.
Add that to your resume
Yes,
now.
I'll add that in.
Wealth of knowledge. No, I think the defense was, as we said, spotty at times. And I think that's almost kind of been a theme this season, too, where they've had really good spurts, but really not. And what we talk about, too, a lot is the rotation in the secondary. As they're heading into their bye, I'm sure they're collecting their breaths right now, but as they look ahead to the bye week, defensively, what needs to be at the top of the to-do list?
For me, we got to get our nickel cornerback situated, right? You know, whenever Bradley Roby gets back, I think that's a natural position for him. So you're going to get teams that look at our defense and say, okay, where are some of the soft areas in the defense? Where can we have some success? And it's been in the middle of the field for us all year long, whether, you know, between those hashes, whether it's our linebackers, whether it's that nickel corner who plays like a linebacker at times, and then the safety position. I think Kevin Byard is still getting accustomed to playing in his defense and playing with each other out there. This was the first time they've been the same secondary for consecutive weeks. So the bye week comes at a good time where they can tighten those things up and get ready to play Kansas City coming out of the break, because I tell you what, Kansas City's on their bye week as well. So they're going to have enough time to look at some of these things and try to take advantage of it. But it's an area that we certainly need to fix. I think that's the biggest issue with us right now. I love what we do on defense from a run-stopping standpoint. It's very difficult for anyone to run against us. But our passing game has to sort of pick up.
Yeah, and I think having that extra week, whether it's allowing Bradley Roby to get healthy, right? You assume that he will probably be ready for that game in a couple weeks. Getting Kevin Byard another week, just kind of getting situated from a communication standpoint, an execution standpoint, getting all of those guys working together. You talk about the nickel corner spot. You know, Bradley Roby, he has played nickel at a high level in this league. So being able to get him situated in the structure of the defense, now that allows everybody else to kind of fall into place. Right now, the Eagles have been kind of platooning at that position. We've seen a rotation between Sidney Brown playing there and then the rookie undrafted free agent Eli Ricks on passing downs, with Brown playing on more run downs and base downs. Having Roby out there on like an every down basis and then allowing those other guys to come in situationally, I think that will kind of settle things down a little bit. Again, with Byard also getting those extra reps, that will be big as well. We'll find out with the injuries. You know, Bradbury got hurt late in this game. Hopefully he's okay, but that'll be something to monitor as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, we talked about the constant rotation, all the new faces every single week. But once again, I mean, in the second half of this game, the Eagles did a great job. Only 6 points allowed. by the defense. At the end of the day, against a high-powered offense, to be able to come away from the second half with just 6 points allowed, that's a plus. That's a win.
It's been bend don't break, really,
Sure.
this whole season when it comes to the defense, especially the secondary, because it's always been, wait a sec, who's going to play in the nickel? Wait a sec, who's back there? Who's going to cover those explosive plays? Because that's kind of been the Achilles heel of this defense, too. We even knew that heading into this season, too. But if we zoom out a bit now, because it's kind of that natural break of the season, first-year defensive coordinator Sean Desai, how would you evaluate what he's been able to do with the personnel?
I think he's been doing a fantastic job given what he's had to work with every week, right? When you don't know your personnel from week to week because injuries or what have you, sometimes it could be difficult for a defensive coordinator to sort of put together a game plan and then, more importantly, build on that each week. So I think he's done, especially for his first year, with this personnel, I think he's done a very good job. You know, I won't forget about that Miami Dolphins game where he shut down that offense. I think certain weeks are just going to be different. And what Washington sort of did against us and what you saw Dak able to do today was more or less about just yardage being given up. Fran brought up a great point. They got yards, but they didn't get a lot of points. And only getting 6 points in the second half, you got to give the defense a lot of credit for there because, listen, they're battling. They're out there battling. And CeeDee Lamb's a very good player. He's a very good player. And Dak's a good quarterback when you give him time. You give him time to throw the ball back there, he easily plays like a top 10 guy.
Well, we've seen Dak Prescott have great games against this Eagles defense where he looks like he's in complete control. I didn't get that sense watching him tonight, did you? Or it was like, oh, he's dropping back and he's in complete command of everything he's seeing and where he's going with the football. Easy throws, easy completions. It didn't feel that way. The Eagles made him earn everything. There were a lot of plays that were second reaction, a lot of plays where he had to get off of his first read and go down the list of progressions. I think the Eagles defense, they do a really good job of throwing curveballs at opposing quarterbacks. Oh, you're expecting this? All right, we're actually going to come up with the changeup. And the Eagles constantly are keeping quarterbacks on their toes. We've seen it with Dak. We saw it with Tua Tagovailoa. You go back throughout the schedule, they've done a nice job of keeping opposing offenses on their toes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not, but I think having a good game plan for the best quarterbacks, the best offenses on your schedule, there's something to be said for that, especially with the attrition they've had on that side of the ball.
Yeah, especially the stretch coming down for the Eagles because their next 6 opponents all were playoff teams.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Yeah.
You need to be able to sharpen those skills against each and every quarterback you see, Dak Prescott included. So it's nice to head into the bye week with a win, and Reed Blankenship agrees. He spoke to the media in the locker room just a few minutes ago.
Come back. No, it means a lot. You know, it shows how tough they are and how willing they are to lay their bodies on the line for our defense. You know, I love them to death. They're leaders in our room, and I look up to them as role models too.
Overall, how did it feel to win this gutsy, close divisional game? Where it seemed like you may give it away in the end, but you end up holding on at home. How does this win feel?
Oh, it feels great, especially going into the bye week, especially over Dallas too. You know, when they come in the league, it's going to be hard. And you know, we came out, executed what we had to execute, and we got off the field with a win.
Yeah, win always feels great. We don't need Reed Blankenship to reinforce that for us, but it's always good to hear. So the Eagles win this one 28-23. They have the best record now in the league, which is nice. They can head into their bye week ahead of a game that is going to be all eyes on them because they'll be playing the Kansas City Chiefs in a rematch of last year's Super Bowl. We won't get into that one just yet, but just to keep your eyes on what is coming up after the bye week too. But I think we were talking a lot about the defense right there, but going back to the offense, they were faced with a top 5 defense, if not the best defense that they faced this year. And they've seen different iterations of defenses trying to mess them up in different ways. As you said, different stunts are being shown or, you know, different things are being shown to try to throw Jalen Hurts off. How do you think that they handled the pressure from Dallas?
Not turning the ball over was the first step. You know, Dallas is very opportunistic as a defense. They love to tackle the football. They love to get interceptions when they can. And listen, give Dallas a lot of credit. They played well today from a defensive standpoint, right? You look at Jalen's numbers, they don't necessarily jump off the page at you. You know, we ran the ball, not necessarily effectively, but I love the fact that we stuck with the run. You know, 33 rushing attempts, and I know some of those attempts are Jalen running the football, but the fact that Swifty got 18 carries himself, Gainwell was able to get some touches in there. We saw Rashad Penny get a couple touches in there himself. I love that the Eagles, and I said this coming into this week, I said, we got to make a commitment to running the football. You know, we'll see how effective we are running the ball, but I didn't want to see us drop back throwing the ball 40 times a day against this defense, because I think that would have played right into the hands of that defense, because it gives them more opportunities to rush the passer. And that's what Michael Parsons wants to do. But if you make him play that run, then they get a little disinterested. And so the fact that we put up 28 points on them, a couple big plays down the field, I didn't think this would be a huge stat day for any of our guys, really. I thought this would be one of those workman-like type of victories if we got it, and that's what it showed itself to be.
Yeah, there were situations where the Eagles were behind the sticks and you had to convert 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, and they were able to do that in this game. They finished 7 of 14 on 3rd down. They were able to go an additional 2 for 2 on 4th down. Those happened on that opening drive, that touchdown drive that ended with the Kenny Gainwell score. But I think when you look at overall this offensive performance, I agree. It wasn't like the run game was not hitting on all cylinders. That's been a little bit of a theme over these last few weeks. I think offensively, that's something that they'll be looking at over the course of the bye week is, hey, what's going wrong with the run game? How can we tweak it? How can we improve? Because this team has always been able to hang its hat on, hey, late in the game, when the opposing team knows that we want to run the ball, we could still move it at will, and they haven't been able to do that over these last couple of weeks. I think that's something they'll look to rectify here with the break-off.
Yeah, they'll be able to take a look at that over the bye week. And now Nick Sirianni is at the podium. The Eagles have won 3 of their last 4 meetings at home against the Cowboys. I'm sure he's going to be talking all about it.
I scare you? Julie? Come on, baby. Don't. She thinks she's going to be the star of the show. Sit here and don't do anything, okay? Or you're not going to be able to come again, okay? All right, baby. Fire away.
Nick, what were your emotions like on that final play?
Yeah, gosh, football's such an unbelievable game. There's highs, there's lows, and sometimes it brings you to tears of joy. Sometimes it brings you to tears. But just so happy our guys. I mean, it was obviously the plays that before that led to them being in a kind of a desperation at the end. Great job by our defensive line to get pressure there at the end of the game.
Nick, you tried to impress on everybody that this was just another game. Watching you and now seeing you, I just don't think this was just another game.
Yeah, hey, I'm the same. I feel like I'm the same guy every day. Now that we've played the game and the game's over, it's always a little cooler when you win against a really good football team and the really good football team being Dallas. And I know that means a lot to our fans. Got a lot of respect for those players and coaches over there. It was a good battle back and forth, and it's cool to, again, like I said, it's cool to be a part of that rivalry.
What happened with Jalen when he had to leave? He called the timeout, came back in.
He's okay. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, why was he almost falling over on the ground?
You can ask him. I think he's okay. He played an unbelievable game. Really accurate the entire game. Went to the right place with the ball all game, and you saw how he played after that. So he's good.
So did he change the play calling and get a zone read where he ran for a 3rd down?
He ran for a couple ones after that. So just let him go out there and ball.
What does Brandon Graham do to stay fresh and productive at this stage of his career? What do you guys do to kind of help him?
Again, he's such an important part of this football team. The player, the person, the leader, the captain. When he makes a play like that, like he made today, I promise you that everybody feeds off of that, and everybody feels that because our guys are so excited when he makes a play. And, he does a great job of taking care of his body. Our trainers, our strength staff, our doctors do a great job of helping him take care of his body. And that's why he's playing so successful and so at such a high level at later stages of his career. When you get to the later stages of career, it's about his maintenance. It's about playing with fundamentals and technique, and it's about playing with great passion, and nobody does that more than BG.
I know you said Jalen's fine, but he's obviously been dealing with something that looked like it got knocked again today. Do you approach this week coming up here to say, let's give him as much rest as we possibly
We're going to give all the guys rest, and he'll be one of the guys that benefits from our rest. This is an important week for us to self-scout. This is important for week for our players to take some time away from the game. We never can fully take time away. Are you making faces, baby? All right. We never can. She's been waiting for this moment since last year's NFC Championship game. I didn't let her come last time. She's here now. But we'll take some time away from it, and it's hard to just we'll take some time away from it as coaches. But I know our guys, and I know they'll be intertwined into whether it's I know I'll get texts from our guys on Saturday during the college football games. I know I'll get texts from them on Sunday. I know I'll get texts from them on Tuesday when MACtion is going on. I think my buddy Jason Candle's playing in MACtion this week. I'm looking forward to watching his game as well. But when you got a group of guys that just wants to continue to get better, they'll take away time with their bodies. But I know they'll be have attention on a lot of the games this week. What do you want to do during the bye, girl? What? You have some time off too. You got fall break this week. What do you want to do during this week? What's one thing you want to do during this week? You want to get Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, relax.
How many times did the plan change on CDU over the course of the game?
Man, he's a really outstanding player. Obviously, he did a good job today. They got him the ball a lot, threw it to him a lot. We tried to give some different looks, but again, him and Dak make it difficult to take him away just because of how good they are and how much rhythm and how much chemistry they have. I'm really impressed by that. I think the world of Dak Prescott. I think the world of CeeDee Lamb, and they had a good game today. But we tried to throw some different wrinkles at them, trying to slow them down.
On the final drive, how big was Josh's sack, and I guess what are the emotions like?
Man, it was huge, but man, he started to celebrate. Good thing his celebration's quick. Man, I'm like, get back out there. I think a couple weeks ago, just to, we don't mess around as far as situational football. A couple weeks ago, Notre Dame had a play where their guys were celebrating like that, and Coach Freeman had to call a timeout. And obviously, we didn't have any timeouts there, so I'm trying to get them back. But huge play, huge play, and that's what you expect. That's what really good players do in crunch moments is make plays like that. And he made an enormous play in a huge moment because, the clock ticks. They're 3rd and 21 now. It puts them in a rush right there. I thought they were going to spike it too, and then they ended to play one more play. But we had to be ready to go the next play, and man, that was huge. And Josh Sweat just continues to have a really impressive year. And those two guys feed off each other, Josh and Hassan, because it's hard to take one away. If you pay attention too much to one, the other guy makes a play. And so, man, I couldn't think about anybody. Wouldn't want anyone else rushing the passer besides the guys that we have. And man, they played big in some big moments today. And at times their O-line did a good job as well and gave Dak time to throw. But in big moments, our guys really stepped up and when they needed to. And I think they had a big first half with 17 points and then 6 points in the second half. And so, our defense really rose to the occasion in the second half. And that's not the first time this year that we've had a really impressive second half.
You went for it twice on the opening drive on 4th down.
I'm sorry?
On the opening drive, I believe you went for it on 4th down twice. Was that intentional and wanted to be aggressive earlier, or was that situational where they came?
Yeah, it's the confidence in our guys. That's just confidence in our guys, the confidence in the play call. Brian and I talk a lot about those play calls leading into that. You don't make decisions on the spur of the moment. You know what's coming. Now things change during the game, but that's just confidence in the guys, the play call that we have, and that's it.
What happened on the third and 3? Jalen threw it up to AJ. Was that the call there to go deep there?
I just think I'll have to look at the tape. It looked like AJ just didn't see the ball. They couldn't find the ball, and so in those situations, Jeff, there's times where it's time to throw it short. There's times to throw it deep. You got to feel how the defensive backs are playing all games because, well, why not go to the sticks? Well, sometimes they squat at the sticks, right? And sometimes they grab at the sticks and all those different things. So it's time to go deep, And I think this week, at 3rd and 3, we did that. Last week on 4th and 3, we did that. We ended up getting a pass interference in the end zone right before we had the turnover on the quarterback sneak. And so sometimes it's a time to, go past the sticks. Sometimes it's a time to go way past the sticks, and sometimes it's a time to go to the sticks. I thought it was a good call by Brian. I thought it was a good ball by Jalen, and sometimes, I thought AJ had his eyes around in the right timing, but sometimes, you don't get it. But I know this, when you are aggressive like that, it opens up everything. And shoot, AJ Brown's been on a tear with the ball vertically in this past, 5 games. And so hey, they got us on that one.
2 more, please. Jalen's numbers have been incredible on a banged-up knee. How do you explain the success that he's had, despite being what we would assume to be limited playing that way?
Yeah, again, he's tough. He's tough as heck. He's never been on the injury report though, because his play status has never been in doubt. And great leader, great player, rises to the occasion in big time moments. Just that's who he is. And so, whether his body's feeling 100%, whether his body's you're not feeling 100%, and which nobody's body is at this particular time, he's a warrior. He's going to play through bumps and bruises, and he's going to play at a high level because he's a big time player.
You guys are 8-1.
I'll get you.
You guys are 8-1.
You guys get so upset when I don't get your question. I'm going to come back to you and get your question. They trap me over here.
Here's the thing. You guys are 8-1. If you had to tough out a lot of games, that hasn't been easy. What does it say about your team, the fact that you kind of won through some of these tough games, and what do you guys have to do to be even better in the second half of the season?
There's always room for improvement. Always room for improvement. Tiger. There's always room for improvement, and we'll continue to work on things, the details, the ball security, the ability to take the football away. That's something we're going to continue to work on. What Bill Parcells say, you are what your record says you are. So we're in a good spot right now, and we're going to enjoy this bye week at 8-1, and we're going to get ready for the Kansas City Chiefs, who obviously is a great football team, and just continue to try to bust our butts to get better each day. When you're truly in that mindset and you're willing to get better each day, no matter how you feel, that's got to be the mindset. I'm tired today. Oh, we're 8-1 today. Oh, we're 2-8 today. Whatever the heck it is, you have to be in a mind. It's a mental challenge, and you have to be mentally tough to say, I'm going to get better today, and I'm going to treat today the same way I treated the other day, regardless of how I feel today. And so, you're funny, girl. And so that's our mission, and that's our goal. And our goal, I know there are going to be a lot of chatter about this and that, now they got this lead and they have the best record in NFC. We don't care about any of that. All we care about is how we get better to win our next game, how we rest our bodies this week, how we go 1-0 each day the following week to try to go 1-0 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's our mission, because there's this huge mountain to climb. But you can't climb the mountain all in one week. And when you look up that mountain and you start to just look up at how much more you got to climb, that's what makes you slip when you do that. And so your steps have to be, your head has to be down, your focus has to be on the mountain, your focus has to be on your next step, and that'll be our next practice. And this week, take rest in our bodies.
You mentioned Lamb a little bit, how good he is, Nick, but that's tough duty for guys like Sidney and Eli. When you see rookies persevere like that, fight through, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, we have faith in these guys. That's why we drafted Sidney. That's why we picked up Eli in free agency. That's why they made the football team, and that's why they're playing in these critical moments. And we've been banged up on the secondary, no doubt. But again, at the end of the day, there's times you will bleed out in the pass game, but to give up 6 points in the second half, like a team like that, that's what was impressive. And so Now, you get that a little bit, right? Because if the game was different and we didn't have the lead, maybe they go for a field goal here and there, and maybe you give up more than 6 points, but that's not how the game was played right there. And so I know what the stats say. I do feel that they did on Dallas did play a really good game, especially in the pass game. But our guys made plays in crunch situations, and those two young guys made plays in crunch situations, and they were there and they were contesting, and they were in good spots. And then sometimes good offense beats good defense. I mean, we know that. I mean, we see that on a consistent. This city can go back and see Allen Iverson. Good offense beat good defense. I just met JJ Redick in the hallway. I know for a fact there was a lot of guys with hands in his face. I see him make a ton of jump shots with guys in his face. That was good defense, but sometimes good offense beats good defense, and that's the same thing here. But I was proud of the way they continued to fight and continued to have to just keep fighting for the next play. And our guys did that. They had dog mentality. Shoot, we had a pass interference call on the first play with 45 seconds left to put them at midfield, and they just kept refocusing themselves. Because all that matters is they played that next play, the next play, the next play, and you saw what happened. And great resiliency by our guys.
All right, thanks.
Well, we hear about clock management, we hear about player management, but not often do we hear about emotional management. And that's kind of what Nick Sirianni was getting at the beginning of his press conference. He said, this is an emotional game. It can make you cry for good or for bad reasons. And the Eagles were able to manage the emotional highs and lows of this game. What does that really take when a game has as much on the line as this one did for the Eagles?
Maturity. It just does. They know that this was a big game. Between two rivals that both wanted to win this game today. We said for obvious reasons the Eagles want to continue to stay in front of the pack and get a win going into the bye week, and the Cowboys certainly didn't want to go down the way they did today. And when you have the build-up leading up to the game, you think about it so much, you play the game over and over in your head sometimes. You get out there and the adrenaline is going, but you want to be able to be calm in the presence of chaos. While the crowd is going crazy, while everybody else is going crazy, you want to make sure you're remaining calm. And we didn't have many situations today. We had the one play with Kevin Byard. I thought he kind of got baited a little bit there with the tight end, and he was the second guy in, so they saw that. But other than that, these are the type of games where emotions can get the best of you. So I thought our guys did a great job of sort of managing their emotions and not letting it get out of hand.
And that's why it's really good to see a team go through adversity over the course of the season. And we've talked about that every single week here on the desk after these games. The Eagles didn't win by 24 points tonight, but it's good to have to be able to win games in lots of different ways, to have those pelts on the wall that you can reflect back on as the season progresses. This was not a team that, when Dallas marched back, they said, oh man, they withered in the spotlight. The Eagles were ready for this, and they have been prepared for this, for everything that they've done up to this moment, not just this year, but you go back to last year, to 2021, the guys that have been here, done that. That's huge in these moments to have guys and have situations that you can reflect back on. I think tonight was a perfect example of exactly that.
And a huge example of that is how cool and collected Jalen Hurts is when his back is against the wall and he's able to lead this team. And Lane Johnson actually spoke about that and just getting this win and how big the fans played a role into getting this one.
Yeah, he's just a resilient guy. Even when he throws those touchdowns, or if something goes bad, I saw a meme the other day. It showed like all these different emotions, and it just showed Jalen's face. The whole, that's really it. I feel like he's very calm, very poised, and when you have somebody like that, it makes the offense not ride the emotions of the game, not getting too high, too low, complacent. So you need that, and he's a tough guy. He's been battling the past few weeks, and you can look at it tonight. I feel like the last two drives, offense really put us in a bind. There were some times where we really needed a first down conversion, and defense bailed us out. And it was close. I don't know if y'all seen it, but it was a very close game. So
Nick tried to impress everybody that this was just another game. Now, honestly.
Yeah. So going in the week, we know what it means to the fans. All week. When I'm getting gas, when I'm at wherever I'm at. Y'all gonna beat Dallas this week? When I was at the VA hospital on Friday, that's all I got asked. So, we know what it means. But, when you go into a game, you really got to focus. Be a one-play warrior, and not, and not really think about the result. You just got to take the possessions as they come, and really that's it. But it was a hell of a defensive performance. So.
Yeah, the wins all count the same, but the wins against Dallas just feel a little bit sweeter. So we couldn't agree more with Lane Johnson. And if you weren't sure what he was talking about with the memes about Jalen Hurts' face, we actually have it to show you. So we think it's funny. So you can see that this is not a man of a lot of expression, Jalen Hurts. Only at 4th and 1 does he flash that smile. I love this.
And for good reason.
Yeah, my gosh, it's automatic, right?
Yes.
Remember what was the game last year where Devontae, and it was the Eagles, it was a blowout win, and it was A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were on one side of the bench and like laughing and yucking it up, and right next to them, you got Jalen Hurts just sitting there like this, just you couldn't tell that the Eagles were up by like 3 or 4 touchdowns, but I think that was a perfect look inside what Jalen Hurts is all about.
Yeah, I love it. I love that that is his personality, just because it allows everybody else to get hype. And I think the NFC Championship was the only time I saw him emote, and I'm okay with that. If that's when he chooses to emote and show some sort of emotion, that's fine.
And it's real. It's authentic.
Yes.
It's who he is, and so there's no sense of being someone else. Just be yourself. They talk about that all the time, and I love the fact that he's able to sort of keep his emotions at this level. You know, he doesn't get too high when things go well. You know, he's focusing, thinking on what they have to do the next time they're out there on the field. And when things aren't going well, I love the fact that we don't see shots of him on the sideline, you know, slamming the iPad where he's frustrated or in some sort of back and forth with a coach or a player or what have you. His emotions are usually flatlined, and I think the players sort of feed off of that as well. You know, the players, now they're going to show their emotion and celebrate and do their thing, but I think it's something too, your leader sort of having that flatline type of personality, and I'm sure they get to see a different side of him. Like, he's in the locker room after the game. I'm sure he's excited in there, and we get to see him break down the huddle, and so you know he's an emotional player that cares about winning out there. You know what? His rookie year, he gave us a little more, or maybe it was his first year as a starter in 2021, where he would do the gritty, you know, from time to time. So you would get that out of him a little bit, but you know, he's kind of doubted back a little bit as he's now a wise old vet. It just is what, 4th year? Is this his 4th year?
Yep.
Yeah, it's 4th season.
But that authenticity, I think, is important, right?
Sure.
And that's why I think that, you know, him being as genuine as he is, I think that even goes hand in hand with Nick Sirianni kind of being like the opposite emotionally. And he talked about that in the press conference, is that he's going to show his emotion in so many different ways. But, you know, if he is going crazy on the sideline, if he is going crazy in a team meeting, you know, the players aren't looking around like, oh, what is this guy about? They know, like, yeah, like this is who Coach is. This is who Jalen is. This is who A.J. Brown and Fletcher Cox and all of you go right down the list. All these guys are allowed to be the real versions of themselves. Yeah. And I think that is what has led to this culture being what it is here in Philadelphia.
People respond to authenticity. You can, especially in a team setting, you can tell when somebody's being phony or putting on a front, especially with a head coach, when they start going off, giving you metaphors that don't make sense, and you're like, where were you going with this? But when you know who somebody is and you have Jalen Hurts as almost your emotional foundation, it allows people to spring off and be them true selves, knowing that he's kind of going to be always steering that ship. But this was only the second time he's matched up against Dak Prescott. And we know heading into this game, Jerry Jones didn't want to poke the bear, but Dak Prescott had some like weird bear references. He said, pour honey on me.
Yeah.
If you see me in a bear fight, pour honey on me. How do you think he did in the bear fight today?
Well, him individually, I know he probably wants that last drive back. They got down there and they got close to an opportunity to be able to steal a victory here. He played well as an individual. You know, you got to give Dak his credit.
He got stuck in the honey with a delay of game.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, that was critical. Was the people I think will point to the 2-point play. Oh, you know, he was a half inch out from making this a 3-point game. That delay of game, and that's not all on him, right? That's the whole operation. I mean, that's a horrific call in that spot for them in terms of to take that -5. You had the false start when they were down the 6-yard line after the Eagles initially spotted them an extra 5 with Jalen Carter jumping off sides. But having that delay of game, that was a tough spot. But overall, I mean, Dak Prescott had a very productive day.
His numbers speak for itself, really. Yeah.
The Eagles made it tough on him, but he was able to earn it.
He was able to kind of step up to that. But in that final play, you said they were at the 6-yard line, false start, sack, incompletion. Delay of game, and then completion short of the goal line. So it was almost like who wants to give this game away at the end? But let's take a look at the current NFC East standings, and boy, oh boy, is it nice to see the Philadelphia Eagles up on top, 8-1, 4-0 at home, 3-0 in the division, and those division games are massive because we have to go down to Dallas at the end of this tough stretch. We still have to play the Giants at the end of the season, but they got their own problems up there in New York, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. And they were able to sweep the Commanders, which is massive as well, both home and away. So looking at the standings right now, how do you feel?
Well, that's another reason why this game was so important for the Eagles to win, because they still have to go to Dallas and play. And we saw how difficult tonight was. Imagine when we have to go down there in Dallas. That's going to be a tough place to have to go get a victory. And you certainly didn't want to have to play that game in 4 or 5 weeks, having already lost to Dallas at home. So that's why getting a win on your home field, you got to take care of your home field, and especially against your divisional opponents. The Eagles were able to do that tonight. They got a tough stretch coming up, right? You know, Brandon mentioned, you know, we know what's ahead for the Eagles when you look at the opponents. And that's another reason why this game was important, right? They're going to have to fight their way through this gauntlet. And sitting where they are right now in the standings, they're going to get everyone's best shot. They just are. Right now, they're playing like the best team in the entire league, and the league is on notice. The league is on notice about how well this football team has been playing through the first half of the season. So coming to the stretch run, the second half of the season, these teams, particularly the NFC teams, you know, San Francisco, Dallas, and Seattle, you know, all 3 of those teams could be playoff teams at the end of the year.
We've all known about this 5-game stretch since May, right? But I think the big thing, the reason why this game tonight was the biggest of this stretch was that, look, the Eagles are going into this tough run here, but the Cowboys, they're getting ready to play the Giants, the Carolina Panthers, and then the Washington Commanders. So there's a good chance that they are 3-0. The Eagles having a 2-game lead on them going into that stretch as they're preparing for this gauntlet. That's a huge buffer for them as they get ready to get into the meat of their schedule. You get this bye week, rest up. You know you're going to have a big test here, and that'll be week 11 at that point, going up against Kansas City. Andy Reid, we know about him off the bye. They're coming from across the ocean here from their victory today. But at the end of the day, the Eagles are just going to do what they've always preached, and that's taking it one game at a time. The next game is the most important because it's the next one. We're going to hear all of that the next 2 weeks.
I know they don't like to, predict or look further down the line, but I'll put you two on the spot. And what's a realistic record that they can get over those next 5 games?
I mean, listen, realistically, they should be no worse than 3-2, right? I mean, I don't need to pick out which games I think, but they shouldn't be any worse than 3-2. A couple of those games, tough road places to have to go and play. Going to Arrowhead won't be easy. Going out to Seattle, West Coast trip after playing the Dallas Cowboys for a second time won't be easy as well. But this is a great test for the Eagles to see exactly where they are. When you get to this November and December, you're preparing to play in January, preparing to play for the end of the season. So, they're going to get everyone's best shot. Nobody's going to be making excuses or feeling sorry for us. So we got to make sure we go out there and take care of business.
Yeah, it's good. Again, it just goes back to the analogy, and Nick Sirianni used it in the press conference tonight of, you're climbing that mountain. The moment you look up and say like, oh, we got this far to go, or the moment you look down and say, look at everything we've done so far, that's when you stumble. That's when you trip. And so they're going to go with this one game at a time mentality. I do think, this is a tough schedule for them to expect them to go 5-0, us on the outside. That's tough. That would be impressive if they were able to do that. But all they can do is just go 1 week at a time.
Yeah, and they have to keep those blinders on too heading into the bye week, because it's so easy when you don't have a game to prepare for that you can look ahead. And speaking of the bye week, we have one of our first Ask Ike questions coming in. And Ike, they want to know, what do players look forward to the most during the bye week? I love that question.
Wow, it's been a long time since I played. So, we used to get the entire week off. Andy would give us the entire week off, and he would let us know prior to the bye week. That's probably why we didn't win going into the bye week. Usually won coming out of the bye week. Well, I remember losing some tough games going into that bye week, and we thought Coach would rescind giving us the week off. But to his credit, he never did, and we always rewarded him by making sure we came back ready to go, and that's why we were undefeated after the bye week under him. But it depends. Most guys will relax. You get your veterans. They pretty much are here, so they're not going to be going anywhere. You get treatment. You try to get healthy. I don't think anybody's going to go to Cabo or do anything like that, like we've seen with some of these guys. But then some of the younger players, particularly first-year players, it's still college football season, so some of them may go back for the weekends to some of their campuses. You know, they can go back being the big man on campus, because when you're a rookie in the NFL, you're not the big man on campus anymore. So it all depends, I guess, on each individual player. I never took a trip anywhere during the bye week. You know, I would use that week to relax around here. I would use that week to do some media work that I was doing, working on a post career at that time. Yep. So, you know, that's how I sort of handled my bye week and made sure, we used to always tell the guys, we don't want to see you on the ticker, meaning the bottom ticker of ESPN or something during a bye week, because you may have gotten in trouble or something. So the Eagles have been very good of being players off the field. You never really have to worry about these guys. So that was the one thing for us. It was like, make sure you get back here on the bye week.
And the coaches, too, the other big thing is that while the players are resting up and getting themselves right, the coaches, it's a big self-scout week, and that's going to be the big thing we're going to hear over the next couple of days, is that the coaches are going to spend a lot of time looking at their own film, at the Eagles film. Hey, this is what we do well. This is what we don't do well. How do we lean more into our positives, stay away from our negatives, or fix our negatives? That's something that's going to happen over the next week.
Yeah, and we know this was a big game, a big win heading into the bye week. It was also a big win because Jalen Hurts set a new franchise record for most career rushing TDs by a quarterback with his 33rd today. He spoke to the media just a few moments ago.
Touchdown passes or your defense late in the fourth quarter. What is it about this team to find a way to get things done when you have to?
I think what an incredible win. What a incredible sense of perseverance and resilience from this team. Still have yet to play the complete game, and we're so hungry and eager to continue to grow and build upon the things that we've been able to do. But just wait to show up in the end. You know, obviously had some things that we want back defensively, offensively, and on special teams, but it's always about finding a way. And I just think the resiliency that this team played with, the way guys were able to be disruptive towards the end of the game, obviously offensively have to be better in managing those situations in the end of the game. But you know, that's all that matters is winning. You know, that's something that I've been saying all year.
We've seen Devontae one-on-one with Bland on the outside like that. What are you thinking, and what is, you know, kind of going through your mind and Devontae's mind to make that play?
Just taking advantage of, you know, obviously taking advantage of the opportunities that were given to us. You know, I feel like, you know, I just feel like we have to be better. We have to be better. We have to continue to grow. As I said, I'm as hungry as ever to continue to kind of strive for those new heights. But I think it all comes down to execution and how we execute. And when we do that at a high level, we're pretty good. You know, when we're not, we're not. And so it's a matter of everybody being on the same page and growing through that together. You know, this is obviously a very important time for everyone as we enter this phase of the season. And, you know, it comes down to execution.
You didn't seem to have any ill effects from the hit on the knee as you came out. You scrambled for a first down, you scrambled and completed a pass, and then the touchdown. Were you feeling anything on the knee?
I don't really know what to say. You know, it was a gritty win. It was a gritty win. It was a tough win. Much respect to that team. I'm always very competitive and have great players. You know, but I don't think the bye week could come at a better time.
What happened on the play that you were stumbling and almost fell over as you were running to the side?
What do you mean?
After you got hit in the knee, you almost fell over.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Your teammates have talked before about the boost it gives them to watch you play through something. Do you sense that? Do you feel that from them?
Well, I don't like it being that way. I don't like it being that way. I love to be all good, and you know. But you know, as I said, man, I do anything for this city and for my teammates, and it takes what it takes, you know, and that's simply put, whatever it takes. And I'm just happy that we were able to gut out this win, and we showed so much resilience.
John, what do you think aggression does for this offense? You guys went for it on that first drive, twice on fourth down. It seems to be kind of relentless to the opposition when you do that. Do you think it helps the offense when you're that aggressive?
I think it is, and I think it can be very imposing when you have that mentality of being aggressive. I think if that is who we want to establish ourselves as, then we have to stand on that, and be who we are. And so I think there's a ton of room to grow in a ton of different areas. Consistency in our execution, being committed to certain things, but for us, we just need to continue to grow. That's what it comes down to, right? And I've said this before, and how this is a result-based league, but the reality is, it's all in the details of your execution. And so when we execute at a high level, we're pretty good. When we don't, we run into issues. But a lot of things to learn from this game. I can't wait to watch the tape. But we don't turn the ball over. That always helps.
Hey Jim, what was it like to watch that final Dallas drive, and what does it say about the defensive group, about what they ended up with?
A ton of credit for that defense, man, how they played out there today. Those guys up front being disruptive, pushing that pocket back. You have times in the game where you're a repeat offender, or throughout a season where you're a repeat offender of a mistake that you've had prior to. And I feel like for us, our offense in the end of that game, we were a repeat offender where we had an opportunity in the last game last week to put the game away, and we did not. And we put our defense back on the field. That's not what you want to do. And we did that kind of today, too, as well. So those are opportunities for us to grow, and we need to learn from that. But I think for our defense and being in the situations that they've been in, and I rarely ever talk about that. Obviously, we all have a role, and we all challenge ourselves to be better at our roles and in our jobs. But you look at the defense and the situations that they've been in throughout the season and how they showed up today in this moment, whether it was a DPI, a holding, or whatever, they found a way to respond. And so it's a great job by them. And obviously, with them having the opportunity to score as many as they did and not giving them one, BG rallied into the ball to get them it's a game of inches, and just a ton of credit for them, and just you continue to grow. That's the mindset.
On that, whenever you were mentioning repeat offender, you get up the 2 scores and then 9 plays the rest of the way. What were you all trying to accomplish, and kind of just your initial takeaway of what the Cowboys presented to stop you?
Well, I think it's obviously about being efficient, executing, and getting first downs when you're in that point in the game. That's what it was, and we failed to do that. And so that is something that we want to continue to get better at. We have to get better at that if we want to be the team we want to be. You look at last week's game, the Jets game, where these things have come up. And so we can't be repeat offenders. We can't make the same mistakes over and over again. We're having this conversation. I have this demeanor here, and I have this hunger in my heart, and we're sitting here 8-1. So that's a very great feeling. Yet, it's about winning, but it's about the standard too. And so we just want to continue to raise that standard and play play the type of ball we want to play.
Take 2 more. You had a key third down conversion with your legs on a zone read run. How important it is to always keep that as part of the offense to keep defenses guessing?
I mean, it kind of just happened that way. I don't even know what the rushing thing was today, but it's just kind of been playing by ear this whole entire time, and it comes to a point where it is truly a whatever it takes mentality. But that's a great team win, and selfishly, I don't think the bye week could have come at a better time. So.
Jalen, you had the best game. Is that something you'd have to deal with? I mean, as far as the knee is concerned, even with the bye coming up, it's something you've kind of dealt with injuries the last couple of years too, and every day. I mean, how do you plan on? How can you manage it? Like, what's it going to take?
We'll see. I don't know.
Okay, this will be it. Go ahead.
I believe this is only the second time you and Dak Prescott have played head-to-head. Can you just talk about you guys, your relationship with him and the mutual respect you have for each other?
Yeah, he's a player that's been through a lot in his career and on his journey, and it's always good to see him succeed, and continue to do a great job for his team as a leader and as a player.
Okay, thanks, Jalen. Thanks, everyone.
The Eagles are 25-2 in the last 27 regular season games that Jalen Hurts was a starting quarterback, and we heard in that press conference him refer several times to the hunger that this team has and the fact that, we say it every week, the standard is the standard. They're raising that each and every week, and there's still room to improve. But it feels a lot better to have to improve when sitting at 8-1.
Oh, yeah. It's making corrections, going into the bye week. He's one guy I know won't be taking a vacation anywhere. He'll probably be in this building for the next 2 weeks because this is where he pretty much lives. And that's why he's the player that he is. He is a football junkie, always looking to get better, looking for things that he needs to improve upon and work on, get a chance to get his body together, get some extra treatment, get rested up, because he knows he has a big second half of the season coming up.
Yeah, I think ultimately when you look at Jalen Hurts, what the effort that you saw tonight, that's what you're going to get tomorrow morning and Tuesday morning and Thursday and Friday, next Monday and so on. This is a guy that's always trying to get better each and every day, each and every week to put this team in position to hoist a Lombardi trophy.
And on the Eagles' first possession, he put this team in scoring position with help from Kenny Gainwell, and that is the subject of this week's Ricoh Review.
All right, so for this week's Ricoh Review, we're going to take it all the way back to the opening drive of the game. Kenny Gainwell gets into the end zone, a 12-yard run, the Eagles' second opening drive touchdown of the 2023 season. Let's jump in and see how it happens, because it's a wrinkle off their typical inside zone where you're going to see Kenny Gainwell, he's going to take this off the right side. Now, this is to the weak side of the formation. You see all these bodies over here, and Dallas is responding in turn. You've got a lot of white jerseys over to that side, but that means you have a lot of green grass over this way. So the Eagles are going to attack the weak spot of this Cowboys defense. Now, there are three key blocks on this play, and it's the three offensive linemen to that side. Let's start first with Lane Johnson. He's responsible for kicking out the defensive end. Then you've got the down block, the pin down from Tyler Steen, the rookie second-round pick making his first NFL start. He's going to block down on that defensive tackle. If you get these two blocks here, that is going to try and create a nice wide lane for Jason Kelce to pull inside as a lead blocker, almost like a fullback for Gainwell, who is going to insert into that B gap right behind Kelce. So we're going to let this roll for a second and see how these two blocks do on the play side. Look how wide this hole is. Outstanding job here from Lane Johnson, getting that kick-out block on the defensive end. You see that Tyler Steen does a good job here. Landon Dickerson, he got up to the second level to negate that backside linebacker. That means all Jason Kelce needs to do is get to the second level and get that play side backer out. And now there is nobody here for Kenny Gainwell as he inserts. Devontae Smith is going to take care of the corner. You've got a whole bunch of jerseys here on the backside. Everybody else is worried about the run threat or the RPO here on the backside. Well, now you've got Kenny Gainwell all by himself. We can let this run. He goes 12 yards into the end zone. The Eagles take a 7-0 lead. Again, this was their second opening drive touchdown of the 2023 season. Outstanding execution up front. Kenny Gainwell does the rest, and the Eagles take a 7-0 lead to open up the game.
Now is your chance to vote for Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. As always, we have three options for your Toyota Player of the Week. Your first is Brandon Graham. 2 total sacks, 1 solo, 1.5, 2 total tackles, 1.5 sacks. Then it's Jalen Hurts, QB1, calm, cool, collected. He led that team to victory. And finally, Devontae Smith, he had this amazing touchdown catch in the third quarter to give the Eagles the lead. Where do we go with this? You got two offensive options, but Brandon Graham came up big with the defense at the end to kind of help seal this thing.
That's where we're going.
That's where we're going.
Have to go BG this
Yeah.
week. Going BG this week, defensive play. Listen, I know the offense, they put up 28 points, and those were some nice plays from Jalen and Devontae Smith, but it was a little bit of a quiet day for the offense from a total explosive standpoint, and I thought those plays that Brandon made were huge. So I got to give it to him. Surprised even if you'd have said Josh Sweat, I would have given it to him.
Yeah, it was tough, obviously, narrowing that down. To me, I got to go QB1. To me, if I'm placing a vote here in this one, it's going to be for Jalen Hurts and what he did. You saw a couple touchdowns through the air. You saw a touchdown on the ground, numerous third down conversions on the ground from Jalen Hurts in this game. To me, this one goes to QB1.
I think I'd have to side with Jalen.
Well, that's fine. And he doesn't have to go up against A.J. Brown this week. So
that's right.
Yeah, so, he'll probably get
Also, he had that Gucci Pikachu sweatshirt, which...
It's a win.
I just had to give BG some love.
I understand.
That's one of my favorites.
I'll allow it.
Yes.
I'll allow it. Well, next week the Eagles have their bye, but the R&R won't last long because after that bye, they have to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. That kicks off a stretch of 5 tough games in our Jameson nightcap. Super Bowl rematch against the Chiefs, but no Eric Bieniemy anymore in Kansas City. We already saw him twice this year with Washington, so what will be the biggest difference this time around?
Can you get to Patrick Mahomes? I think the offense looks a little different this year. I wonder if that is because Eric Bieniemy isn't there. They got a pretty good offensive coach over there in the head coach, and Ike Reese, one of the best to ever do it. And you give him 2 weeks to prepare for a game, he's pretty good at that. But I like this matchup. I like our defense going up against that offense of Kansas City. Now, obviously, that's a tough place to play out there in Arrowhead, but going out there, I think taking care of the football will still be a big thing. We got to be able to protect Jalen. They got a nice front up front. It's been under-talked about this year with that Kansas City Chiefs team. Their defense is very good. My former coach, Steve Spagnuolo, is doing an awesome job with that Kansas City defense.
That's exactly where I was going to go, is that I think everybody thinks of the Chiefs, and you think of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and you should. They're obviously one of the best units in football offensively, but you have to look at what Steve Spagnuolo is doing on the defensive side of the football. They are stingy. They are opportunistic. They are aggressive. They're going to mix things up. So there's going to be a big test here for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense going up against that Kansas City defense.
And they've seen a lot of tough defenses so far, and it seems like incrementally they keep getting tougher, these opposing defenses. So a week to prepare for Kansas City. Also really watching Travis Kelce because tight ends have put a lot of yards up on the Eagles this year, so that's something for sure to watch. And maybe someone with the last name Swift will be there. I don't know. I don't make any promises.
We know at least one will be there.
We know one will be there. That's the only one we care about. I don't know about everybody else. The Eagles fans Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th. Create a plan to vote this Election Day and let your voice be heard. Visit PhiladelphiaEagles.com/vote to learn more. So that's just in a few days, Election Day. Go out and vote, make your voice be heard. And for us and the Eagles, we have a bye week now, so we get to take a breath and enjoy this Cowboys win. So thanks for sticking with us on this late Eagles postgame show presented by Ricoh. For Ike Reese and Fran Duffy, I'm Marisa Pilla, and enjoy the rest of your week.